face remembered what I missed. Each turn a thought I once dismissed. The echoes knew what I forgot, a name I carried but did not. The sky held questions I won't ask, too worn to chase, too lost to mask. Reflections watched with silent care, but found no one completely there. I passed the windows of my past, where versions of me couldn't last. A flicker deep beneath my skin of something loud that stayed within. Grew still the moment shy, as if the truth refused to try. It lingered just outside my breath, like something close but scared of death. I moved but left my meaning back behind a thought along a track, too faint to claim, too sharp to sell a self I never really held. The voice I use still sounds like me. It speaks in tones I rarely see. I ask the world but get no help, still standing unknown to myself. The door was open, lights all low, but nothing welcomed me below. Just air too stale and chairs not turned, and photographs that never burned. A suitcase waiting near the wall, as if it knew I'd missed the call. The quiet said what no one did, that even time forgets what's hid. Each step I took felt less than real, the floor unsure beneath my heel. I reached for something undefined, but found myself left far behind. I stood before a silent turn, where choices whispered, lessons burned. The path was clear, the will unsure, and I remained afraid of more. A door half open, dim with doubt, a world I never dared walk out. The breeze was loud, my voice was still, and time moved on against my will. I knew the place, I knew the way, but fear would always make me stay. A step away from something wide, yet always choosing not to ride. I shelved began to fade, like poems lost that hearts once made. I reached but never touched the flame, and so it never knew my name. A shadow walked where I did not, a version of the self I thought, a silent song that might have flown, a life fear would always make me stay. A step away from something wide, yet always choosing not to roam. If longing had a shape to show, once pulled but never tied, hung loose between the days that died. It almost found its way back home, but wandered out again alone. The words were close, but none were right. Each syllable too dim for light. A half-formed thought that never spoke, just silence wrapped around from empty walls. Each footstep stammered, each name stalled. The hopes that tried to make amends were scattered with the missed out ends. And somewhere in the space between, regret became a quiet sheen, not sharp enough to pierce or bleed, but heavy with the ghost of need. All paths that ended far too soon still flicker under brittle moons. A tale unfinished, still it bends in all the mist and fraying ends. Beneath the drift of silver skies, a thought emerged, then softly died. No name, no face, just floating still between the ache and fractured will. The clocks forgot to call my name. The hours passed, but none the same. A gentle blur, a quiet fall, as if I never lived at all. The silence held a deeper sound than voices ever could have found. The day stood back, the night leaned in and left a hush beneath my skin.
Questions waited by the light, but vanished once they touched my sight. The world kept moving past my gaze as I dissolved in empty haze. No echoes left, no shadows cast, just moments slipping from the past. A memory I couldn't keep, a promise buried far too deep. What held me close then let me go, now flickers where the lost winds blow. In hours weightless, undefined, I leave no mark, I leave no sign.
The room forgot the voice it knew, where shadows fell on something true. The chairs remain, but not the sound of laughter once that spun around. The window watched what wouldn't stay, the dust kept track of all that frayed. A cup untouched, a note unsaid, a presence faded, softly shared. Clocks still count, but not for this, not for the hours we used to miss. Each second stalls where meaning stops, between the echoes and the drops. The silence hums what words won't dare. It fills the spaces of the chair. A thought begins but doesn't land, too fragile now to understand. The empty place is not alone, it holds the weight of all we've known. 1,000 things we never spoke now drift between the chair and smoke. Some things don't leave though time moves on, they hum in rooms where light is gone, still whispering in quiet nods, in empty chairs, in scattered thoughts. something more, but left its words upon the floor. A silence framed the edge of day, where all the colors slipped away. No voice replied, no reason came, just drifting thoughts without a name. The mirror knew what wouldn't be, it showed it still relentlessly. A moment paused beyond the glass, where futures fade and moments pass. The path looks clear, but led to air, as if no trace was ever there. Returned but found no face, just fragments lost in empty space. The dream had blurred before it spoke, and left behind what never woke. A shadow formed from should have been, but never dared to stand within. It watched itself and couldn't move, as though it had no soul to prove. A moment paused beyond the glass, where futures fade and moments pass. The path looked clear, but led to air, as if no trace was ever there. If anything had meant to stay, it disappeared along the way. Now all that's left, forever clever, just me staring back at never. A breath too close to be released hung heavy where the silence ceased. It trembled near the lips of truth, but never made it past its youth. The moment held its fragile line between a loss and something mine. It echoed loud, then slipped away, as if it never meant to stay. The light was dim, the walls unsure, the air still held what once was pure. A step was taken, half in thought, but what it searched could not be caught.
broken truths it buried in. The sound was there, a fleeting chord that almost shaped what we adored. It wasn't quite a final note, just pieces we forgot we wrote. It sang of love not given form, of chances lost before they're born. If ever near was ever real, it wore the shape of what we feel. A song that almost touched the most, that aching sound of almost. Emotion passed before it stayed, like sunlight brushed then pulled away. A flicker at the edge of sight, too swift to hold, too soft for light. A shadow turned but left no trace, no echo carved its resting place. Just space where something once had been, a moment lost beneath the skin. The thought was close but never clear, a breath removed, a voice too near. It almost spoke, it almost cried, but blinked away before it tried. Like meanings that the night can't guide. The glimpse returned in different forms, and dreams half-shaped in quiet storms. Each time a little less complete, each time more hollow, more discreet. Not all that leaves will say goodbye. Some vanish just beyond the eye. Too fast a frame, too faint to keep. Still gone in glimpse, but buried deep.
Sound arrived beyond its time. No place to land, no hill to climb. It floated past the listening ear. A story no one stayed to hear. The dusk had closed on open doors and left its dust across the floors. The silence pressed like hidden weight that knew this voice had come too late. A shadow flinched, then held its place, afraid to show a vanished face. Regret was written in the air, but none were left to know or care. Tried to leave a mark, but disappeared into the dark. A message carved without a name, too slow to spark, too still to flame. A step was meant but never made. It lingered where the chances fade. It called but nothing turned around. A whisper sinking underground. If time had held its breath for long, perhaps it wouldn't feel so wrong. But here it stands and always will. Too late, yet speaking still. The wind forgot the way back home. Its whispers scattered, left to roam. No sign to mark the fading trail, just echoes caught on threads grown pale. A breath escaped without a name, too quiet now to stake a claim. It circled once, then slipped aside, like truths that distance chose to hide. The sky lay dim but stayed unclear, as if the stars had disappeared. The moments blinked and turned to gray, this sake a mist abyss. No answer waited on the shore, just questions drifting evermore. A voice once strong grew undefined, unthreaded from the edge of time. It almost spoke but lost the thread and chose to stay unheard instead. Its meaning ember stayed unclear, as if the stars had disappeared. The moments blinked and turned to gray, and everything felt far away. Sound, it never found this barren ground. Still circling out in some old tune, still chasing what was gone too soon. Wind moves slow across the glass, like whispers trying not to pass. It held the names I never wore, and truths I left beside the door. Each breath I took was halfway done, a silence pressed beneath the sun, not heavy, just too wide to see the edges of what shaped my me. There were no answers in the light, just colors fading into white. And somewhere in that gentle fade, I left behind the parts I made. A shadow leaned into my mind. It brought the things I meant to find, but time had curled them into shape that memory could not escape. The hours blinked, the sky stood still. I bent to time against my will. Yet even in restless plea. There bloomed what I hadn't meant to be. A song unsung but echoing, a thread beneath each shattered thing. Though half of me may never see, I am still what I meant to be. No road beneath the morning gray, just echoes where the lines gave way. The signs all faded into dust and left behind a hollow trust. Each turn I took was made of air. The corners led to vacant stare. No landmark bore a name I knew, no trace of where the silence grew. Compass spun in quiet dread, its needle suckling what was said, but none of it could draw a line to any place I might call mine. Had names I couldn't hold. Their fire dimmed, their stories cold. The paths they cast had slipped askew and left me with a shrinking view. The fields I passed were thin and wide, where dreams had gone but didn't hide. They waited just beyond the reach of what my heart could ever teach. And still I move without a track, a voice too soft to call me back. This journey speaks in tones opaque, and still my map remains blank. Curtains hung with careful hands, but none of them recall my my plans. The frames were straight, the floors were clean, yet held no trace of where I'd been. The air was warm, but not from me. The silence held its certainty. Each corner spoke of lives well worn, but none that knew the way I'm torn. A hallway stretched with echoed light, like memories that don't feel right. It whispered names I never knew, and shadows I once wandered through. With gentle care, still I could feel myself not there. Each drawer unopened, every bed, a place I never came to tread. The walls held marks from someone's years, but none were and every room I tried to see refused to give a piece to me. So here I stand, but never stayed, a ghost in spaces never made, still searching for the life I missed inside these rooms I never lived. The glass forgets the face it knew, a fleeting blur, a shade slipped through. No sound remains, just muted light, still caught between the wrong and right. The wind repeats what once was said, but all the words feel long since dead. A side too old to carry weight, still lingering at memory's gate. The sky leans close but doesn't speak. The frame is thin, the colors weak. A silent gaze, a shift in hue, where something lost once looked like you. Shadows dancing where we slept. They do not speak, they do not stay, but pass through light and walk away. A story paused behind the pain, too quiet slow.
The clock had stopped, but I walked on. A world still turning, yet all felt gone. No echo rose to mark my step, just empty air that secrets kept. The skies had dimmed without a sound and pulled me further from the ground. Each thought I had was thin and dry, like letters lost beneath the sky. No wind to guide, no map to trust, only my breath and fading dust. The quiet wrapped around my name and left it trembling, worn by flame. But found no word, only the stillness gently stirred. A hush that filled the cracks with weight and slowed the pulse of even fate. I searched for voices I once knew, but silence shaped the path I drew. It led me where the light won't stay, where memory falls and drifts away. No end to guide, no map to trust, only my breath and fading dust. The quiet wrapped around my name and left it trembling, worn by flame. And now I stand where quiet grew, inside a world that never knew, still following what I can't see, to where the silence took me. Once burned beneath my tongue, but faded out before they'd sung. A chance I held, too soft, too late, it vanished at the fragile gate. The door was wide, the moment near, but hesitation drew in fear. A breath too cautious, thin and wide, and all I meant just stayed inside. The sky looked on with quiet grace, while I stayed still and missed my place. One step behind, one truth untried. A wave I watched, but never tried. Echo came, but didn't stay. It curved around and slipped away like something real I couldn't name. A spark I had, but couldn't claim. I see it now in shadows dance. The ghost of almost not quite chance, still haunting corners of my mind. A trace too blurred, too undefined. And all I was and couldn't be lives in the space that memory frees. A truth half-shaped on trembling lips, just something I let slip.
Footsteps echo down the hall,
every sound feels much too small. The walls remember better days, now blurred behind a silent haze. A jacket hangs with sleeves undone, still reaching for a setting sun, and names once whispered in the dark fade gently like a falling spark. No moment stays the way it came. It bends, it shifts, it leaves no name. A memory not quite aligned, just scattered pieces out of time. The window holds a breath too deep, for all the dreams we failed to keep. And in the corner, dust and light both settle where we lost the fight. A mirror stares, unsure of who was ever there or just passed through. Every truth I meant to find remains a piece I left behind. No clock could stitch the lines we crossed, no map could find what we have lost. Yet in the quiet